Biden scandals dwarf Watergate. Where is the bipartisan call for resignation? This is Dr. David D. Shine. Welcome to the special edition of Saving America. In 1972, we had a presidential election. We were in the middle of the Vietnam War, which seemed to be endless, and the American public had turned against it. However, the economy was doing reasonably well, and Richard Nixon was in a reasonably good position, despite the fact that he wasn't a very popular president. So, in any event, in the 1972 election, the Democrats, I think, almost deliberately ran a anti-war candidate, George McGovern, and an unknown named Sergeant Schreiber, who I believe was credited with being part of the Kennedy clan. And other than that, didn't really have much else to recommend him as a vice president. So in any event, it looked pretty good for Nixon, despite the fact that he wasn't the world's most popular person. Oddly, despite his big lead, his committee to re-elect the president decided to illegally wiretap the offices of the Democratic National Committee, which was housed in the Watergate office complex in Washington, D.C., hence the term, the Watergate scandal, and the things that followed. This break-in was badly handled, badly bungled, and one of the chief perpetrators was, believe it or not, an attorney on top of everything else named G. Gordon Liddy. And if his name is familiar, he actually hosted a radio show for a while. He used to call himself the G-Man after he got out of prison. Now, why anybody gave G. Gordon a radio show, I don't know, but stranger things have happened. In any event, these 5 clowns get arrested, and the cover-up that followed, and of course, there's a very famous saying that it's not the crime, it's the cover-up that gets you. And it basically grows out of Watergate and some other similar situations. And I believe America is facing that exact same situation today. And it's interesting, if you read a summary of Watergate, they talk about the fact that the CIA, the FBI, and the IRS, and the Department of Justice were all compromised in helping the president of the United States, Richard Nixon, cover up something that should never have happened in the first place. And Nixon should have thrown these clowns under the bus at the very first juncture. Nobody should ever have attempted to cover up for something this stupid. In any event, Nixon wins the election in a historic landslide. He defined landslide. Why, I don't know, but again, McGovern was such a weak candidate. And in any event, following the election, this thing really started to bog down, words starting to come out, and the Washington Post ran an expose, and there's all sorts of pieces of this thing that came out. Later, there's a movie, I think, starring Robert Redford. But in any event, Nixon was called upon to produce his recordings that he had made in his office. Now, he's legally entitled to do that, but people apparently didn't know that he was recording what was happening in his office in the White House. And so the courts ordered him to produce those recordings, and of course, they were very damaging. In any event, there was a clearly bipartisan movement to impeach Nixon. As he was impeached in the House, the powers that be persuaded Nixon, and he resigned in August of 1974. Within a month, the VP, Gerald Ford, who rose to be president, of course, pardoned him, and he said, "We've had enough. America is in bad shape, and I'm pardoning Nixon because we need to move on as an America." And that's what happened. And of course, we later had to follow Saigon, and a lot of other things happened after that. But in any event, it was certainly a very difficult time in American political history. And what fascinates me, and the reason I go through this background, is because the similarities to it today are rather stunning. And you have the reported misdeeds. And again, Nothing has yet been proven, but boy, the pieces that I've heard sure indicate the old cliche, where there's smoke, hey folks, I think there's a lot of fire, not a little, but a lot. So what are we dealing with? The Ukraine and China primarily, the cooperation of some of the same agencies, FBI, IRS, Department of Justice, with the Biden administration to cover up the misdeeds of the Biden family involving these two countries. There's two major differences. One is what I call the slop stream media, because they've certainly given up the title of being mainstream, is cooperating with the Democrat administration. Number two, the Democrats are not smart enough to throw Biden under the bus now and get this out of the way before the 2024 election. And I think that is going to come back to bite them big time, because with a Republican Congress, with the whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork, I think this is a situation that will repeat Watergate, and we will end up with a lame duck, even more unpopular than Joe Biden, Kamala Harris briefly as president, and then a new Republican administration most likely, although I'm not thrilled with the Republican candidates, at least the leading candidates myself right now. So what are some of the things that we've heard? Audio tapes of informants showing deals made for the benefit of the big one. Biden personally making a threat to withhold $1 billion from Ukraine if they did not fire the government official investigating Biden's son's deals with Burisma. To quote one report, while Hunter Biden earned $83,000 a month as a board member of Burisma Holdings, a Ukrainian energy company, Joe Biden's assistant, John Flynn, looped in Hunter on a scheduling email dated May 26, 2016, about a call between Joe Biden and Poroshenko. The Washington Times reported this, obtained through a Freedom of Information Act, a FOIA request. WhatsApp communications come to light showing Hunter claiming his father was sitting with him as a $1 million shakedown with a Chinese party official. Reports that Biden family split up as much as 17 million, not 5 million as earlier reported, and the IRS and the US Congress have not pursued this up to now. 17 million, and nobody's looking for the money, nobody's looking for the taxes, nobody's going to jail. What's going on here, folks? Additional support is the near open money spigot to Ukraine for the current war with Russia. What's behind that? And a lot of people are asking questions. Not that we're not supportive of Ukraine, but we want some support for the money. Now, sending cluster bombs to Ukraine, despite over 120 countries across the world banning them because they are anti-civilian as opposed to being effective war weapons. Further, the unexplained flaccid response to the incredible amount of Chinese instigation against the United States and its allies. I recently issued a well-deserved F grade to Merrick Garland for his operation or misoperation of the Department of Justice, also known as the Department of Injustice. The evidence is flowing about an Assistant Attorney General in Delaware named David Weiss not prosecuting what appeared to be clear-cut crime allegations against Hunter Biden. Biden, prior to the presidency, storing confidential documents in his garage, virtually nothing, while Trump was raided with great fanfare and is already in court on that. What's that all about, folks? It's bad and it's getting worse. How can Watergate be bad enough to take down a GOP president, but worse scandalous actions have not yet taken down Biden and his associates? Thank you for listening, and I welcome your feedback. This is Dr. David D. Shine for this special episode of Saving America. Please subscribe on your favorite platform if you've enjoyed this episode.